I feel like a space girl. Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Vanessa and today I'm going to be showing you guys how I make my gluten-free beignets. As you guys can see, I know I'm late to Fat Tuesday, but that's okay. I've been to Mardi Gras one time. I've been to Louisiana, New Orleans. It was all during Mardi Gras and I was so excited to be there. I love it there. I want to go back so bad, so bad. But the one thing I did have there from Cafe Du Monde was beignets, and they were amazing. If you guys have never had them, they're kind of like a funnel cake donut, and then you got coffee, which the side, and forget coffee cake, forget all of that stuff. Beignets are so good with coffee. They're good in general. But one thing I was so sad about when I became gluten-free was that I was not going to be able to have beignets anymore. And lo and behold, we got it. I promise we got it. This recipe is great. Like I kind of watched a whole bunch of different videos, like the original way to make it that's not gluten-free, and I kind of took some of their tips. I kind of took some gluten-free tips on certain types of bread and flour. Everybody knows gluten-free flour is a whole nother ball game. So I kind of did everything, kind of mashed everything up, and it worked out so perfect. Even this recipe, like honestly, if you guys wanted to, the bread is great for chocolate bar donuts, maple bar donuts, even honestly, if you could do it, like glazed twist donuts. It worked out perfect. But in this video, we are going to be doing gluten-free beignets, and I'm so excited. They turned out so freaking good. I can't wait. So if you guys would like to see how I make my gluten-free beignets, then go ahead and keep on watching. Now, as per usual, if I go too fast or there's, something that you guys missed, there will be instructions and everything down in the description, so go ahead and check down there. If it's not, yell at me. But at first, we're going to preheat the oven to 200 and then right away turn it off. And then I'm going to leave the door shut because that's going to come in later when we need the dough to proof. Now, I'm using my stand mixer. I recommend a stand mixer, but you can use a hand mixer. And the bowl needs to have warm water in it. It doesn't need to be measured out. We're just trying to heat up the bowl. This recipe is so important to keep like at a certain temperature, and it needs to be warm. So I put some hot water in there. Warm water's fine, and we're just gonna, no matter if you're using a stand mixer or a hand mixer, you want the bowl to be warm. And then we're gonna dump it out. We're gonna put back in warm water. We're gonna put in a full packet of active dry yeast, and then we're gonna do a half cup of sugar. We're gonna mix this together, and then we're gonna let this proof in a warm area, nothing too hot. If you need to, preheat the oven as you're doing, and then turn it off, let it kind of come back down to temperature, and then put it in there. Do not put it in a spot that is too hot. We do not want to kill the yeast. Then to this mixing bowl, we're gonna add in some flour. It's about 3 3/4 cups of flour, and then we're also going to add in some salt. We're gonna give it a good whisk, and then we're gonna set it aside. This is the yeast mixture, and it should look like this. It's all like frothy. And to this, we're going to add vanilla extract, milk, eggs, and the rest of the sugar. Now, everything in this recipe has to be room temperature. So the milk that you see pouring in is room temperature. The eggs you see going in, those are room temperature. We do not want to rise anything, like temperature wise, if that makes sense. Like we do not want to put in anything cold to where the temperature starts to go up. We don't want that at all. We want it to stay at a warm temperature. That's what's gonna allow the yeast to keep growing, and then we're gonna get like a fluffy donut-like texture. If we bring the temperature up at all because of cold ingredients, it's not gonna work. It's not gonna be as fluffy. So please try to make everything as normal temperature, room temperature as possible. Just leave it neutral. If your milk or anything like that is too high, throw it in the microwave, 30-second intervals. Just get it lukewarm at best. And to this recipe, or to this part, I'm gonna add in about a cup-ish of the flour mixture. And that's just kind of like tempering eggs. It's kind of like we're tempering the flour. We want it to be kind of like a pancakey type of texture, but we're just doing that because, like I said, we're just kind of like tempering the batter. It helps it. I don't know why. There's science, there's stuff. Don't look at my equipment, it's dirty, I was making so many recipes at this point. I have so much coming for you guys that like my entire kitchen was a mess. So if you see stuff on my counters or my KitchenAid, I'm sorry, it's a mess in here. I was making donuts, I was making everything. Yes, that was foreshadowing for future videos that are coming very, very soon. But to this, we're gonna add a dough hook. Like I said, you guys can use a hand mixer, that's okay, but it is gonna get a little tough. This dough is kind of thick and it needs time. It needs time to get fluffy. So when we're stirring this, I'm adding it like a cup at a time, because if not, I was overflowing everything. So we were doing about a cup at a time, and then stir, and then add another cup, and then stir. You guys can throw it all in at once, but that's just what I did. I just added it in a cup at a time, just so that it was able to, you know, mix well. If it starts to come up on the sides, just push it down. It's fine. Like I said in many of my other gluten-free videos, that for some reason, gluten-free baking, like, you're allowed to overmix. It's the weirdest thing, but it is. Once it starts to get to where it's combining, not all of it, like, it doesn't have to be completely well combined, but just for a majority of the mixture to be combined, then we're going to add about a half stick of butter. Not melted, we're gonna do softened butter, and we're gonna add about a tablespoon in at a time and just kind of mix it in. You don't have to stop and, you know, put it in, but we're just gonna kind of do 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon, 1 tablespoon until we reach a half stick of butter. I really hope all this is making sense. This one was the trickiest recipe. It was easy once I did it, but it was a little bit tricky because I was trying to get the texture so right. Because like I've said in many of my gluten-free videos, I know that it's annoying the way that I try to explain it over the voiceover, but like, it really is a texture thing. It's not so much measurements. That's the weird part about gluten-free baking, but oh well. So anyways, as it is stirring, we want the texture to come together, and then we want it to start to separate. I know that that sounds weird because we're gonna bring it back together. It's like we want it together, then we want it to separate, then we want it together. So I'm going to mix this on like medium heat. I think I did it on a 2 or a 4, and I just let it go and just go. The more air that gets into it, the better, the fluffier it is. We want it sticky. We don't want it too sticky though. We want it to stick, but not stick to your hands, but it will stick to your hands because it's gluten-free dough and, you know, all this stuff. So yes, it's kind of hard to explain, but I did this for about 5 to 10 minutes, and then when I'm ready to kind of like be done, it mixed enough, all that stuff, then I add in a little bit of flour so that it starts to come back together. This part was probably the trickiest part, so if you don't get it right, that's okay. It should turn out basically great and amazing, but yes, this is what I'm going for. So try to just watch these clips and see what I'm looking at, see the texture, and try to mimic that texture, if that makes sense. Oh, and I didn't say this earlier. If your flour, your gluten-free flour does not have xanthan gum, add xanthan gum when you're doing the salt and flour mixture. Other than that, you don't even have to worry about it. You can completely omit it. I did because I have xanthan in my flour. I use cup for cup. I swear by it. Everything baking material, it's freaking fantastic. But yes, so xanthan gum will go in at that part. If not, just don't even worry about it. But as you can see right here in this clip, I did add, I want to say like 1/4 of a cup back into it, maybe like a tablespoon actually. And then I basically just sat at this texture right here. It was a little bit sticky, but it still was together. So that's what I mean. You're mostly just playing around with the texture. So I'm sorry, I know that is so confusing. We're so used to certain, you know, rules and stuff when it comes to normal baking that gluten-free kind of just throws everything off. So just try to mimic the texture. It should be kind of like a sticky Play-Doh. I say that in almost everything, but we also don't want it too sticky. So if it's just sticking to your hands and it's not coming off and it's the wrong texture, add more flour. If it is not sticking to your fingers, you're pretty good then. You're basically on the right track. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm going to put a towel over this, and remember the oven. Yes, how we turned it on in the beginning of the video. We're gonna pop it in there. Now this recipe is very much about letting it be. So I basically left it in there for like 3 hours. I'm not even joking. At least do an hour, at least. But I left it in for about 3 hours. So the longer, the better. You gotta let the yeast rise. You gotta let it do its thing. It's a this lady's gonna make you wait for her. You gotta let it happen. So just try to leave it as much as you can and let it just proof. Go ahead, get busy, do something else in the, around the house and come back to it later. Then after the 3 hours, I wasn't gonna use my countertops, but I got a cutting board and then a rolling pin. You're gonna lay some flour down and you're gonna flour the rolling pin, and then you're just gonna go. Just try to get the thickness to be even. And I'm trying to keep it as square and on the cutting board as possible, but that's what we're looking for, is all this stuff right here. It's a little fluffy, so you're gonna have to kind of mold it. And then I'm only taking off the edges because I wanted it to be clean and crisp for the video, but you don't have to do this part. You don't have to make it all perfect. And then I did a pizza cutter because I do not want to pull on the dough at all. So something smooth, easy, go through, just kind of cut this up. That's exactly what I want. Now to a Dutch oven, I'm gonna add a whole bunch of peanut oil. I use peanut oil or sunflower oil. I think that it doesn't taste like oil when you fry in it, but you can use whatever high heat oil that you would like. We're gonna bring it up to temperature, and then we're going to drop these babies in. Do not overcrowd your pot. I did like 2, maybe 3 at a time, depending on the size, but this is just my tester. And you guys are actually seeing me fry like the first one. Like this was my test run of everything, and this was actually it. And they turned out freaking perfect. You don't want to turn them as much. That's something that I did realize. But once you start to see the edges and around get golden, you want to flip them. And honestly, I think they were only in here each side maybe a minute, probably less than that. And yeah, this worked out perfect. I will have the degree for the temperature and all that stuff down below or on these clips as best as I can to kind of give you like a rough estimate on where I had my oil. I don't usually measure or like get like a thermometer. I don't usually do that. I kind of just go by what I know. But if you need, go ahead and get a thermometer, bring it up to temperature. Just please make sure to not overcrowd your pot. Otherwise, it'll bring the temperature down and then the whole cooking process. We just don't want it to be doughy in the middle. We want them to cook on the outside without burning, and then we want the inside to be fully cooked. If for some reason the temperature is too high, just bring the temperature down. It's okay. It's all just learning. There's a whole bunch of steps with this, so I completely understand. It can be overwhelming when you're doing it all and trying to get everything perfect, but just bringing the temperature down, that's all right. Now I'm gonna let you guys enjoy me frying all of these, and I'll be back in a second. After we're done frying, then we're gonna top it with some powdered sugar. You can put honey on this and you can enjoy it with some nice cup of coffee, hot coffee. Just, they were perfect. They were pillowy, they were fantastic. I don't have a freaking clip and I'm so mad at myself because I thought I did, but I think I recorded it for Instagram and not YouTube, and I'm so upset. But you guys have to give this a try and let me know how they turned out. I'm so excited. And that's it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you liked it, please give me a big thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe if you guys haven't already. But if not, that's fine. You're welcome back anytime. And yeah, that's gonna be it for this video. If there's anything else you're looking for that's gluten-free, it'll all be down below, so go ahead and check out the playlist, and I'll see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.